For those of you that have never interacted with me or first time on one of our webinars, my name is Matt Ayers. They asked me to do the math for the last one, and I've got altogether 17 years in sales experience, about 5 of that in the insurance world, some B2B stuff, and then I actually was a quoted salesperson. And now basically I do everything training that is quoted. So definitely lots of interactions with agents, things of that nature. And like I said, we're going to kind of run in here and give you some tips. So without further ado, we're going to kind of take it away here. So basically what we have here is essentially the year as it pertains to an insurance agent. We'll be here. It seems like it's a long ways away right now, but we're going to eventually get to January 1st. And hopefully it's been the best year you've ever had. But at that point in time, most agents that I talk to, they're just kind of evaluating, hey, what happened last year? What could I have done better? What were kind of some of the roadblocks, and how can I just expand or make next year better? That's kind of the first quarter of the year is that's kind of your mindset. And let's be honest, you just got done with a really busy time of the year. A lot of folks will take a little break and just kind of charge the batteries. Then we fast forward into that, April, that kind of second quarter of the year. Again, a lot of agents that I talk to, they use that time of the year to go out and cross-sell. If somebody only bought a major medical plan from them, maybe now they can get in front of them with a critical illness plan, or maybe they can get in front of them with a dental or a vision plan. And, I really harp on this as a strategy just simply because it's going to allow you to add more policies without adding a single customer to your book of business. So again, obviously that's a very advantageous way to get things done. And then we get around that July time frame. This seems like it wasn't all that long ago. We were talking about the fact that, hey, it's only the 4th of July. We got a long ways before we get to open enrollment. Maybe you start going out doing some networking. Maybe you run a couple of conferences or seminars or do some stuff with the chamber just to kind of get people, hey, in the next couple of months, we might need to have a conversation. And then it seems like we just kind of blink and it's panic mode. It's halfway into October and, we're racing to make sure that we've got, hey, all the tests, certs, all that stuff done. Do I have all my content, everything ready to go? Because once November 1st hits, it's going to take off like a rocket ship. And for those of you that are not aware, we are here right now. So we are not at the panic mode situation yet, but we are fastly approaching it. And so again, the intention behind our webinar here is to give you some ideas and some pointers on maybe how to alleviate the panic when it's all said and done. So just kind of the table of contents or the outline of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over some real basic kind of sales numbers. Then we're going to talk about a sales cadence. And for those of you that have never used a sales cadence, this is going to kind of be sales cadence 101. For those of you that have maybe used one in the past, hopefully this is kind of a refresher. And maybe you grab, 1 or 2 tips out of here that'll help sharpen your skills a little bit. Then we're going to talk about some email tips. Everybody seemingly this day and age has an email. We all are used to email marketing. We're going to kind of give you some ideas and some tips that help get your emails opened. But again, just kind of get your message across in the capacity that you want to. And as a takeaway for all of you attending, we do have some email templates that you're going to be getting in a follow-up email. And then some voicemail tips. So again, in this industry, it seems like that's kind of the price of admission is we send a lot of emails and we leave a lot of voicemails. So we're going to give you some tips on how to stand out there. And then lastly, we're just going to talk about how to script a voicemail. It seems like a very simple thing, but it's something that if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't maybe slow down and do it in the correct capacity, that, all of a sudden now you're just kind of running in a bunch of different directions all at once. So diving in here to some sales numbers. The first and the most staggering one that I share with all people that I speak to is 44%. And 44%, amazingly, 44% of salespeople stop reaching out after the initial phone call. I think this is one of the biggest faults that we make is, we reach out, we don't hear from somebody, maybe we follow up with the email, and then we just kind of move on to the next person. Some more statistics over the last, say, 11 or 12 years here, 3.96. So 3.96 was the number of calls required to reach a prospect in 2017. So at the end of the day, if I had something that I wanted to sell and I was reaching out trying to get a hold of somebody, roughly 4 calls and I'm going to get a hold of them. Now we fast forward to 2018 and we're looking at 18 calls or touches required to reach a prospect. Now, one of the things that's kind of changed over the last, say 11 years is email has definitely become a much bigger contributor. But again, it just goes to show you that it takes a lot more to kind of cut through the noise of what a general customer has to deal with on a daily basis. So at the end of the day, again, we're all used to leaving voicemails. We're all used to getting voicemails, but at the end of the day, it's really staying consistent and making multiple calls, multiple touches, and getting somebody on the other end of the phone. So just to kind of break it down a little bit here and kind of show you the progression. So 4%, that's the callback rate I can expect if I reach out and don't leave a voicemail. So I just call them up, and I'm hoping just sheerly out of curiosity, they're going to take a look at my phone number, and they're going to go, I don't know who that is. I'll call them back. Well, I'm going to get about 4% return on that particular phone call. Now, if I leave a voicemail, it more than doubles. So again, 11% is nothing to write home about. We're not going to retire and get rich on 11%, but it's a lot better than 4% just simply by leaving a voicemail explaining what you do, who you are, and how you can help them. And here's where it starts to get pretty entertaining is now when we call back the second time and leave another voicemail, the callback percentage doubles. So again, maybe we called them, we left a voicemail, it was a bad time. We called them and left them another message, and all of a sudden now you got moved to the top of the stack, and they realize, hey, you know what? I need to talk to my insurance agent. Now is a great time to give them a call. And as we approach to the third and final phone call here, it goes up roughly another 10%, 11% if we just call and leave a third voicemail. So you can really see how, from just one phone call, no message, to making a series of phone calls and leaving a few voicemails, that we're going to get roughly a third of the people to call us back, which I think is pretty impressive. So now we're going to take a look at, a day in the life, or a week in the life, I should say, of a normal insurance agent. And I kind of tailored this around open enrollment, just because that's where we're coming into. And this is by no means, something to etch in stone, but this is just generally when I talk to agents, kind of what they're used to their week looking like. Monday, they're going to call out on a few leads, maybe follow up on some applications that they want to just make sure got submitted and went through. We fast forward to Tuesday. Hopefully there's some client meetings. We're trying to send out some quotes, maybe get some additional policies under our belt here. Wednesday, now we're going to prospect a little bit. So we need to set up some appointments for the last half of the week. We kind of ran a little dry there on Tuesday. And now we get to Thursday, and because of that prospecting, we've got some more client meetings, and so we're running around, and maybe we're meeting with them face to face. I don't know if you're somebody that likes to do it, via webinar or via phone, however that might be. You've got some people that you're in front of, and you're pitching product. And then lastly, we get to Friday, and maybe this even creeps into Saturday, is we're going to follow up with all those folks, and try to just catch the stragglers and talk to anybody that maybe was kind of on the fence or wanted to take a day and think about it. And then we're going to try to set some more meetings, because ultimately, without those meetings, you can't close any deals. And just before we get too far along, it looks like somebody did ask a question. Yes, you are going to be able to get a copy of the entire webinar. Somebody asked if we're going to get a copy of the slides. We're actually going to send out the webinar in its entirety as we're going over it today. I will go ahead and hold off and answer the rest of the questions once we get all the way to the end. So back to the week in the life of an agent, especially when it gets busy, it feels like you're kind of going all over the place. You're jumping around, and it really can feel like you're drowning. Like, hey, there's all this stuff that I have to do, and I really don't 100% know which order to do it and how to accomplish it, and really how to maximize the effort that I can put in on a daily basis. Well, I want you to think of a cadence as kind of like a life preserver. So that's going to help keep you organized. It's going to help kind of keep you feel like maybe you're just treading water as opposed to drowning, which is a much better feeling. So what is a sales cadence? So I went right with the dictionary definition. Cadence is a rhythmic flow of a sequence of sounds or words. Well, that doesn't help us a whole lot in the insurance industry, but ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to set you up with a flow of things that you're going to do on a daily basis based on where that customer is kind of in the buying journey when it's all said and done. So why do we want to use a sales cadence? Well, first and foremost, it's going to help automate some of your processes. Emails are the one thing that I think of more often than not. Being able to automate a follow-up email with everybody that you talked to last week. Just that one little thing that's going to save you some time, and maybe allow you to make some more phone calls or get an extra hour of sleep, whatever that might be. That's definitely going to make a difference when every hour or every different minute of the day counts. It's going to help us space out the phone calls. So, one of the things that none of us like is we get 3 phone calls in 3 days and we don't hear anything for another week. It kind of seems like, well, they're not super busy right now, so they're calling. So it helps space things out and maybe catch people at different times of the day when they're a little bit more apt to talk to you. I always joke the old UPS line. Hey, we left a note on your door because you weren't here at 9 a.m. today. We're going to come back again tomorrow at 9. Hopefully you're there. Well, if I wasn't here today at 9, why am I going to be there tomorrow at 9? And that's kind of the same idea with spacing out your calls. It creates a plan. Again, so now I know that, hey, I'm gonna prospect these people on a given day, and then 3 days down the road, if I don't hear anything back, I'm gonna call them back again or send out an email. Like we kind of talked about with the automation, it's gonna add time to your day. So instead of, again, filling out all of these various emails and sending them off and customizing them, now we just all in one can just send out a mass set of emails at one point in time during the day, and then your emails follow your phone calls. So now when you call and leave a voicemail, you can definitely just tell them, hey, there's going to be an email that follows up. Everybody likes to communicate in different methods. Some of us like to get emails and like to respond to emails because it's very easy to do so in our own time. I got the email at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm going to wait until 5 o'clock this afternoon when I get done with work and I'll reply to it. Some people want instant information. And so by calling and emailing, you're appealing to everybody across the spectrum there as far as that's concerned. And then ultimately, by having a more defined plan, you're just going to increase your revenue. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a moneymaker by just being a little bit more organized and having a little bit more of a concerted plan as you go into it here. So I'm going to give you an idea of a sample cadence here. Now, this is a relatively short cadence. It's going to run over a period of 5 days. With some products, you might want to run a longer cadence, especially if we get out into the first of the year and we're trying to maybe look at a critical illness plan or life insurance, things like that. You might run a 15 or a 20-day cadence over 6 weeks, where it's just, we're kind of reaching out and just want to catch you one more time. But with this, what I did is I created a sample cadence for open enrollment, understanding that we're trying to track and target people who hopefully, are motivated buyers and looking to make a decision relatively quick. So day one, Monday, we're going to call and leave a voicemail, and then we're going to follow up with an email. And I think that's a pretty unobtrusive way to introduce yourself. Hey, this is Matt. I'm with blank insurance company. I have X, Y, and Z. I think I can fix some problems, or I think I can help you with this. And I'm also going to follow up with an email, just in the event that that's an easier way to correspond. Now, maybe that person gets the email and the voicemail and they don't call back. Well, awesome. You've created a task for yourself that in 2 days, you're going to send an email. And I can't stress this enough. If you don't have some sort of a product to automate marketing, that's definitely something you should look into. Because here in this capacity, I don't have to think about this email. I can just create a template and set it and forget it. And basically everybody that I enroll in this is going to get the email as it goes out. So here we go. We've given them kind of a day in between, and now we're going to send an email. And if you've been kind of calculating, we're going to wait another day, and now we're going to call and leave a voicemail. And this is a really, really, again, unobtrusive way to follow up with somebody. Hey, I'm just reaching out to see if you got that email that I sent you. So maybe the first call and voicemail is something surrounding, hey, has somebody looked at a subsidy calculator for you? Are you aware that there is a subsidy you may be eligible for? When was the last time you looked at your insurance? Any of that sort of stuff. And then send an email. Maybe even an informational article that talks about, how people are overpaying for insurance or any of that sort of stuff. And now when we call back on Friday, we're not calling up to ask if they want to buy something. We're just simply calling up to see if they got that email. And again, it's a far less intrusive way to kind of forge a relationship than to just kind of be product focused every single time. So let's say, again, we get a hold of them on Friday, or I'm sorry, we don't get a hold of them on Friday. We end up leaving a voicemail. Now we fast forward to day 4, and we're going to go ahead and send an email. And so in this case, I combined the 2 weekend days. I counted them as one, just because, again, I prefer to do the business on the weekends in my line of work, but in your line of work, absolutely. We get into open enrollment, especially. Don't hesitate to throw things on your calendar for Saturday or Sunday. There's a lot of folks that those are the only days that they can talk. So in this case, again, I combined Saturday and Sunday and moved it to Monday, but it kind of becomes, just dependent on your business, I guess, maybe how you want to divide things up or how you want to space things out. Industry standards point to the fact that you should leave at least 1, if not 2 days between contacts. You just don't seem so overwhelming. But I think, again, given the time of the year, given the product that we have, leaving that 1-day buffer is going to be more than enough. And then finally, we're going to get to the last call and the voicemail, and we're going to send an email. And the thing that I really like to do with this particular call and voicemail, and specifically email, is maybe turn up the intensity just a little bit. Hey, you know what? Open enrollment's fastly approaching. My calendar's filling up. I'd really like to get some time where we can maybe talk about a policy, things like that. That just kind of again gives that impetus to buy when it's all said and done. Now, some of you might be looking at this thinking, hey, that seems like I'm kind of bugging people a whole lot, and personally, I think it's the other direction. I think if you extended this out to, a 5, 6, 7 event cadence, you actually might get a little bit more traction. And the reasoning behind that is life is busy. I can point to 5 or 6 different stories. One of being, anyways, I can point to 5 or 6 different stories where somebody's tried to get a hold of me, and for one reason or another, we just kind of play phone tag, and I just really never get a hold of them. And it's because, again, we're all busy. During the course of a day, we're thinking, hey, what are we doing for dinner? Did the phone bill get paid? What time are the kids done with school? Are there after school activities we have to pick them up with? Is there any milk left? Do I have to swing by the grocery store and grab some of that on my way home, or do we have enough to make what I wanted to make for dinner? And then do we have company this weekend? And again, this is not a comprehensive list by any means, but it kind of gives you an understanding that these are all the things that the customers that you're dealing with have going on in their daily lives. So when it's 3:00 in the afternoon and you call and leave them a message that, hey, I noticed that you filled out a form, or I noticed that you were interested in some health insurance, that might be the furthest thing away from their mind. But all of a sudden now they get that second or third email and it triggers, hey, I need to get back a hold of my agent, need to work around this and kind of get moving, as it were. So some voicemail tips. So we're going to start out with voicemail tips here, talk about a few things that you can do to kind of leave a more lasting, memorable impression on your customers. So first and foremost, as the slide earlier showed, don't hang up without leaving a voicemail. Again, I know that there are some sales strategies that'll teach you the sheer curiosity. People are going to call you back. I think in this day and age, if people don't recognize the phone number, that they're probably not going to give you a call back, or they're going to Google it and find out exactly who you are. So definitely let's make sure that we're leaving voicemails with those phone calls. If nothing else, it gets them used to hearing your voice, so that maybe the next time you call, it's not such a stranger anymore. They've heard who you are, what you do, all that sort of stuff. Keep your voicemails between 20 and 30 seconds. Make it very, very digestible, really quick, so that if they don't want to listen, for a minute and a half, that they can get the information that they need and kind of move on with their life. Make it personal. This is probably one of the most difficult things when you're creating a script to call multiple people is how to make it personal. One of the things that I love doing, especially, when I used to do business locally, is talk about things that are going on locally. If there's a high school football team, or the weather, if there's different sporting events going on, all that sort of stuff can help you make it a little bit more personal. Above and beyond that, if we're targeting, a critical illness product, bring up the fact that, hey, this product is built for people 40 to 55 or 42 to 55, or, whatever the target demographic might be. But it's ultimately, again, gonna seem like it's less of a robo-dialer and more of a local insurance agent just kind of calling out to help. And then lastly, leave your voicemails at the end of the day. As I was kind of going doing some research for this is one of the kind of the eye-opening facts that I found. And think about it. If you get a voicemail at 9 in the morning, you might listen to it. And you might have every intention of calling that person back when you walk out of the office or wherever it is that you work, or whenever you're done with what it is that you're doing that day. And then life just kind of gets in the way. And now all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock and, things are kind of winding down. You get back to the house at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and you realize that you never called the person back that you needed to. So now you've bumped it to tomorrow morning, which turns into the next day and the next day. And that's why, again, the cadence works so well. Those customers that have every intention of getting back to you but can't, you're going to reach them at different times of the day. And then again, if I get a voicemail at 4:30, Maybe I've got a 20-minute or a half an hour, in my case, a 1 hour commute, and I'm kind of a captive audience in my car. I'll probably give you a call and just see what's going on, see if there's anything you can help me out with. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about kind of a scripting outline. One of the things that I was really, really hesitant to do when I was younger is create a script. I just thought, hey, I'm so lights out at this. I can ad lib once I get on the phone. I don't have anything to worry about. Well, I quickly found out I was wrong. I'm not telling you that you have to create every script, down to the sentence. But one thing that I really like doing is just kind of creating bullet points. So obviously start with your name. Hey, this is Matt with ABC Insurance, and get right to why you're calling. Don't talk about sports teams, whether, hey, I'm giving you a call because I noticed that you filled out a form requesting some information about X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, I'm giving you a call because you and I spoke about a month ago. You told me to give you a call now. So let's address that right off the bat. And then whiff them. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, guys or gals, I should say. But the acronym is What's in It for Me. So let's tell them right away why they should call you back. Hey, you know what? When's the last time you shopped for insurance? Has somebody really looked at your subsidy information over the last 5 to 7 years? Are you sure you've got the right plan? Has your family grown? I mean, these are all kinds of things that you can now start to weave into your conversation, and just trying to catch them a little bit, again, with that, hey, here's exactly why I should call. And then leave your contact info. I know this is kind of old school, but leave it twice. Hey, this is Matt with XYZ Insurance. My number is 555-1212. Again, that's Matt with XYZ Insurance, 555-1212. And for those of us that still write things down as you're listening to voicemails, it gives us the opportunity to make sure that we've got the right number written down. Again, seldomly will it happen. Just with everybody with the cell phones, they'll probably just hit reply. But I think it's kind of a nice courtesy. It just kind of puts a nice ending to the message. And then let them know an email's on the way. Like we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, most folks like to interact in different ways. So if you've got somebody who gets your voicemail and they're like, I don't really want to talk to somebody in person, but I would like some more information, and now they know an email's on the way, they can correspond in that capacity if that's the chosen method of correspondence. So moving on to email tips. One of the big things that I really want to point out in this industry, I think that gives us a huge advantage versus other industries. I'll throw it out there. I was at Whole Foods not too long ago, and I'm getting ready to check out, and they go, hey, would you like your receipt emailed to you? And I said, sure. And they asked me for my email address, and I ran through the Rolodex, and I'm like, what's the one that I checked the least? Because that's the one I care about the least. And that's the one that I gave them. Insurance is going to be a different story. If you're reliant on an insurance agent or an insurance company getting you any sort of information, policy information, any sort of, cards, anything that you need to use in your inbox, they're giving you the email address that's probably attached to their phone. That's probably the number one email address that they use. We might have 3, 4, I think I counted before I did this. I think I have six email addresses, but when I order a pizza, I use the best email address because I want to track that thing from point A to point B. And it's similar with insurance. So understand that emailing, I think, is still a really, really valid tool in this industry because you're getting in front of folks that have given you the right email address that they're going to at least view. They might not open it, but they'll at least see it come in. So at the end of the day, we want to keep these subject lines short. One thing that's really, really changed over the last 7 to 10 years is emails are getting opened on a phone first before they're open on a computer. And so think about how small your phone is, and you can really only get 4 or 5 really good words in there. So keep them short, so that way if somebody opens your email on a mobile device first, they're able to get the gist of the message. Don't use punctuation. One thing that I see a lot of times is people put a lot of exclamation points or question marks, things like that into their emails, and that's a great way to get sent right to the spam folder. And once you get sent into that kind of spam area, it's really tough to get back out. And then, believe it or not, the subject line that's got the highest open across any industry is just voicemail. And I read this, and it makes a lot of sense. If somebody leaves me a voicemail, and I really don't want to check it, so I've got a missed call and I've got a voicemail on my phone, and all of a sudden now I open up my emails and I see a random person with a voicemail subject line, I'm going to open that because it's way easier than picking my phone up and listening to the actual voice message itself. So that's where your content becomes huge because they're going to open it. The question is whether or not they read it and reply to it. And then lastly, don't start with re. I see that a lot of times where people essentially want to make it look like they're replying to an email that you sent them. In my opinion, this just kind of goes down that path of, things that start poorly rarely end well. And so if somebody tries to maybe land me by deceit right off the bat, I doubt that I'm gonna follow up or even continue to do business with them, let alone, maybe refer friends or family members over to them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of open it up to questions, anything that we've kind of talked about, and then as a kind of a subjugation, what I'm going to do, any of you that are current Quote users, we're going to go through and I'm going to show you kind of how to use the Quote platform and set up some of these templates and really help automate some of your processes. For those of you that are not Quote users, feel free to stick around because we're going to kind of show you maybe how this system can help you out. But looking at the questions here, looks like Joseph asked a question, voicemail only in the subject line? Absolutely. That's exactly what I do. So just send out the email and don't say voicemail with the date, just write voicemail and that's it. Any other questions? Well, without further ado, what I am going to do then is just kind of hop in and show you a few things. And the number one thing that I talked about. Ooh, sorry, there's one more question coming in. Better to have a company email or a personal email? When I get an email from somebody with a Yahoo or a Gmail address, it I don't want to say it sends up a red flag, but I would much rather see, Matt at Matt's ABC Insurance or something like that. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading through the questions here. Yeah, so it looks like there are some additional questions as far as leaving the voicemail as the subject line. So essentially, here, let me see if I can get this. All you're going to do is essentially write voicemail in the subject line. And as far as prospecting, Rob, this is the first of a three-part series. So this is just kind of going over some basic voicemail and emailing tips. And we're going to definitely show how to automate some of these processes as we move through. All right. Well, it looks like that's going to be just about all of the questions. Oh, text marketing. So it looks like there's another question that came in regarding text marketing. Personally, it's something that I've never used. The thing that I do in the research that I've done, it shows that it gets opened, but there's not necessarily as high of response rate as you would anticipate. And I'm just kind of reading through the questions here. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, we're not using any sort of recordings when you're leaving voice messages. What we want to do is we want to create a script that's going to kind of sound sensible. Again, kind of take a sect of people. I'm calling them because we're 10 days away from OEP. So that's going to be kind of the point that I'm going to try to hammer on. But again, I'm not a big believer in pre-recording messages and then leaving them because again, I think it kind of sounds scripted. I prefer to just leave the voicemail live when it's all said and done. All right. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. And so what I've done here is kind of pulled up Quote It. Now we talked a little bit again about automating your processes. If you don't have the autoresponder currently, that's definitely something that I recommend you add to your platform or your kind of accessory belt, as it were. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of come down to settings. And the thing that I love doing is kind of doing it one of two ways. So here, what we're going to do is we're at the home screen. Just to kind of slow down a little bit. And for those of you that have asked, we are going to send out an email that's going to allow you to get to this recording to watch it if you want in maybe a little bit slower capacity. But anyway, so we're at the home screen, and now we come over to settings. And what this is going to do is allow us to come down to our letter wizard. This is going to allow us to, again, automate some of those emails that we were referring to. So what we want to do is come down to manage letters. And now this is going to give us the opportunity to create a new letter. So what I'm going to do, I love using Halloween as a jump off point. And you stop and think it's literally the last day before OEP starts. So we're going to come over here to Halloween autoresponders. And some of these are blank because they're updating them, getting us some new ammunition. We'll get to the new one here. So here is our Happy Halloween message. Now, the cool thing about those of you, again, that do use the Quote It platform, anything with these squiggly kind of boxes around it or brackets is going to be automatically populated for you. So it's one less thing that you have to worry about, one less thing that you have to write in. All you literally have to do is come down here and delete out this information. And now we can start typing our own message in here. You know, you could write just something along the lines, hey, have a safe Halloween, or have a safe Halloween. Hope that there's nothing that goes wrong. But if something does, hopefully you've got great health insurance coverage. Or one of my favorites, hey, when was the last time you looked at your dental policies? Have your kids eaten too much candy? But again, it's a very non-obtrusive way to kind of jump in and get them to just open your emails. And then the handy thing here is we've got the ability for them to run quotes on their own. So again, a lot of folks like to kind of meander and look at stuff on their own. This gives them that opportunity. More importantly, we come back to the top here, and the letter name is going to be Halloween. So I can call that kind of whatever I want. In this case, I might call it Halloween OEP 2019. And then the cool part here, the subject line. So here we've got our subject line. This is actually what the customer is going to see. So let's just put in here, Happy Halloween. So now when I go ahead and save this letter, it's going to save all of these changes that I made. Again, I can put a custom little message in there. And then now this can get sent out any day that I prefer. I would recommend the 31st of October, and it's going to go to everybody in my book of business, whether they're a prospect, whether they're somebody that's purchased products from me, maybe they're even a former customer. But as long as I'm still got their email address and still sending stuff out, there's a good chance they can come back to me. So, you know, this is one way that you can go ahead and get your email marketing set up. Another way you can do it is I'm going to show you if we just come over here to individuals. I'm going to go into view individual contacts. And what I did is I created a letter that talks about OEP. And so I'm going to show you what that would look like if I wanted to send it out to everybody. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go, so I'm in my contact page, and I'm going to go to all activity. And what this is going to do is it's going to open up everybody that's in my book of business that I've ever spoken to or created a contact for. And just by simply clicking the top button here, it's going to auto-select everybody. Now I come down to the bottom here, and I'm going to go to Letter Wizard. And then I click Go. Now what I can do is I can look at my saved letters. So I've got OEP1 is one that I created. And here now you can see it's got all the information. It begins, well, this should actually say, I'm sorry, November 1st, but that's very easily to go in and update. But enrollment begins November 1st. Here's some basic information. And then here's a little note to our customer. Hey, I work for you, not the insurance carriers. Whenever I see a website that calls that out, I love that because I think it gives the customer the understanding that you're on their side. You're there to help them and not necessarily what's in your best interest. And you're absolutely correct. It is the 15th for seniors. I was kind of gearing this maybe more towards our ACA folks, but definitely again, here you can type in a custom message, and now if I just go ahead and hit send, it's going to send it to everybody in my book of business. So pretty cool, pretty easy way to go ahead and get that done. If I wanted to set it up for a time out in the future, you could do that. Or if you just want to do it on a whim, you know, like this again, as we've talked about, agents' lives get crazy and kind of finding out when you can sprinkle this in. But just something as little as, you know, setting yourself a reminder that I'm going to do this on a given date. Now all of a sudden you can set it out. Or more importantly, with the Quote It platform, you can go ahead and and set these up to go out in a very timed capacity. And last but not least, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to quickly, if you haven't used Quote It before, I'm going to show you how to run a quote. Since we're coming this close into OEP, I am going to go ahead and run a quote here so you can just kind of see what it looks like. So let's go ahead in here. We're going to go and we're going to actually add a new contact. And we'll go ahead and use Brett and zip code. And we'll go ahead and use Dallas for our instances here. And since, again, we're talking a lot about the ACA or the under 65 crowd, I'm going to go ahead and make the birth date 12/12 of 85. So here we go with 3 basic pieces of information. All I need. I can go ahead and run a quote. Now, since, again, we know that this is going to be an under 65 person, I'm going to go ahead and actually put in just a real modest income here of $20,000. My assumption is Brett makes more, but I kind of want to show you how the cost share reduction, all that sort of stuff works. So, again, with 3, possibly 4 pieces of information, we can go ahead and now create a contact. If I needed to add a spouse, I could do that. If I needed to add dependents, I could do that. And if I needed to create more spots, I could do that as well. But for right now, for our purposes here, I'm just going to create one person and away we go. So now I'm taking out the Brett's contact management page. It's really easy to update anything. So I'm just going to jump in here and put in an email. So I have a way to go ahead and send those quotes over. So I can go ahead and save here. Here is the handy spot where we can turn those autoresponders on or off. And I'm going to actually hit this one real fast because Julie was asking a question as far as questions using the letter wizard. One thing that we've done real recently is if you come up here, and actually I'll touch on it at the end, but there are some videos that we've added, and I will also give you the contact information if you want to call and talk to somebody live as well. But in an effort to kind of make things a little bit more serviceable, we do have very detailed videos on each one of these features, so it makes it really easy. You can watch it and work on it at the same time. But anyways, kind of continuing on down, here's our check eligibility button. So what this is going to do is it's going to give us a double redirect out to healthcare.gov. So any of you that have used this before understand that it does save you a fair amount of time. If the customer's ever had an on-exchange plan in the past, you do not have to create a new account for them. But more importantly, it removes all of those eligibility questions, or identity proofing questions, I apologize. Which one of these cell phones have you had in the last 15 years? Which one of these mortgage companies have you used in the last 10 years? All those questions go away. We're able to go out and get all this information, and then it just brings us right back to quote it. So again, the nice thing is you can do everything in one platform without having to leave. But on to the meat and potatoes. We're going to go ahead here in the upper right-hand corner. There's this handy orange button that just says New Proposal. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And again, since we are coming up on open enrollment, I'm going to go ahead and show an on-exchange plan. And so now I can go ahead and hit Show Plans. And what it's going to do is it's going to go out and find the plans in the area and label them for me. Now, if I want to, I can sort by brand, or more importantly, if I'm only appointed with one of these carriers, I can turn the other 2 off, or vice versa. If I'm appointed with 2 but not the third, I can turn off the third. So you never have a situation where you're going to be in front of a customer, have them see a policy that they want to purchase, and then you have to be the bearer of bad news and maybe tell them that, sorry, I can't sell you that one. We can also filter on metal tier. We can filter by plan type. Or if we get, a customer that's a little bit more price conscious, we can filter by deductible or even premium. Another really handy thing about this platform is everything is live clickable links. So if you've got a question or a customer that has some questions on anything, now you can jump in and do your research all again from the Quote It platform. But let's say I get a customer that maybe they want to compare a few of these silver plans here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the Ambetter Silver, and let's go with the Blue Cross Silver. And I apologize, I'm not an agent, so if this doesn't make sense with the plans that I'm selecting, cut me a little bit of slack. I'm just kind of maybe showing you how it works. Now, if there was one plan in the cart, I could just go ahead and hit enroll now. So I've got the customer with me. That Better from Superior plan, that's the one that they want. I just don't add those last two plans to cart. I hit enroll now, and it's going to take us right through the enrollment process. But in this instance, what I've done is I've created a proposal for a customer that maybe wants to look at all three of these major medical carriers. Every once in a while, myself included, you run into people that like to read all the fine print. And I feel like this is a really easy way to say, instead of taking my word for it, here you can read it right from the horse's mouth. And so now we're going to go ahead and create proposal. And what I like to do first is view it just to see what the customer is going to see. And now you can see, here we go. It's got all three of the plans in here. But more importantly, it gives the customer the opportunity to look at those plan details that we just looked at. Gives them the opportunity to look at the doctors in the network. Now let's say, Brett does his research over a 48 or a 72-hour period and decides, you know what, like most people, this middle one is going to be the best one for me. Now Brett can go ahead and add this plan to cart and go check out, just like it was Amazon or any other online shopping experience that we're used to. Now, the cool part is you as the broker are going to get an email when they start enrolling, and then you're going to get a subsequent email that's going to show when they're done enrolling. So it really allows you to kind of keep tabs on the process from front to back, especially during open enrollment, because essentially, if it's the 13th or the 14th, and we've got a couple of days coming down the home stretch here, but we've got 8 people who started an application but didn't finish it, that would be a great place to start with your follow-up. So again, it just helps keep you a little bit more organized, helps you essentially, keep anything from falling through the cracks when it's all said and done. And now that we've went ahead and viewed our proposal, I can go ahead and email it. So again, here it's going to populate the email address. It's going to automatically copy me in. So if it's a busy day and I run 15 or 20 emails, 30 emails maybe, at the end of the day, I can go back into my email and see exactly who I sent things off to. We can put a custom message in the body. Or if I wanted to, I could create a generic message. Hey, thank you very much for taking the time. I've included the quotes that we discussed, and then that's it. And now all of a sudden, again, you've kind of taken one step out of the process when it's all said and done. And just as simple as that, I go ahead and hit send message, and away we go. And one other thing that I'm going to show you here that happens to be a real big feature, so that's going to handle kind of the major medical. But one of the things that agents really like, especially again this time of the year, because you're getting in front of a bunch of different customers, is to maybe create a subsequent kind of ancillary package. So we found a customer who the on-exchange package based on subsidy and a few of those other things is going to be the way to go. Now I can build a package for maybe dental and vision, and I'll throw in an accident and a critical illness plan, just kind of round it out. So instead of having to run 4 additional quotes for this customer, I can simultaneously run the on-exchange quote and then the ancillary quote. And much in the same capacity, it's pulling a lot of quotes. There we go. So now I've got all my dental, my vision, my accident, and my critical illness. And again, just kind of in conservation of time, I'm going to grab the top one from each one of these categories. And so now if I wanted to, I could build kind of and actually let's just do one of these. And then critical illness, do right in the middle. So now essentially what I've done is I've got my customer, their on-exchange plan, and I've created a subsequent sort of ancillary package to complement that on-exchange plan. Now, one of the pushbacks that I get is, well, my customer's not going to buy all 4 of those things. Well, they might, if you offer all of them, they very possibly may say, yes, that's absolutely what I need. But if you're showing 4 plans to every single customer, there's a far greater probability that they're going to buy 2 plans than if you only show them 2 and then maybe they buy 1 or none. So at the end of the day, this is all about just putting more options in front of your customer. And maybe they don't buy the critical illness today, but maybe because you brought it up in a 5-minute conversation, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, there's a family member or a friend that has something that happens to them, and then all of a sudden they realize they need that critical illness plan. Well, it was you that put that bug in their ear. It's you that's sending them holiday emails and birthday emails and Halloween emails and all this other stuff. And you're the one that's at the top of the stack that they're going to remember when it's time to now go and get one of these plans. And much in the same capacity, I can go ahead and create this proposal. When we view the proposal, it's going to pull it up. And in this case, again, if a customer wanted to go ahead and enroll in all of these plans, they could do so with a single application. So again, it mitigates the application process, and it just makes it seem more like a comprehensive benefits package as opposed to, well, here's the one more that you need, and the one more that you need, and the one more that you need, and much in the same capacity. Again, it's going to give them all the details, it's going to give them all the plan benefits and so forth. And it looks like we've had quite a few questions that have kind of come filing in. So I'm going to kind of switch gears here a little bit. I'm going to get you back to the phone number should you have any questions on an existing Quote It platform, or if you want to take a look at the Quote It platform